Thank you, everybody, for showing up to this Shoreline LAPAC virtual meeting. Reading AI notes. Awesome. Okay. According to my notes, we stopped at question 17. Protect, preserve, manage historic and cultural resources. Good. So that's where I think we'll pick up the chat.
Hi, Maria.
Yes.
We went through number 17, which was that, but I would like to just go through that again because Robert's here, and so I would like his input on that.
Great. Sounds like a good idea to me. Before we jump in there, let me just do a quick check. Did you all receive the Word document of the Shoreline Community's local area plan goals, policies, and implementations? I think I sent it out yesterday. Okay, you did. Great. We'll go over that after we're done with the second survey.
So Maria, are you referring to the shoreline study areas?
Not the special study areas. That was a PDF I sent you, but you should have also received in that same email an attachment of a Word document that has it's 26 pages. Of all of the policies, objectives, and implementations.
Okay, and so that's what you're referring to as far as for the items of like cultural resources that are in that section.
No, that is our coming up next stuff. So we have 5 deliverables to help inform the update. And one of them is our feedback on the second community survey. So we're still working through that today. Then our feedback on the existing policies, objectives, and implementations. And that's that big, long Word document. And then also, because we have special study areas and design guidelines, I wanted to make sure that we got any input necessary on those. So I threw those in with the PDFs attachments to make sure that by the time we're done, this group will have vetted pretty much everything that's existing as well as the survey.
Okay.
So those are 2 of our 5 bullet points of what the LAPAC needs to work on. The other 3 we started working on with our in-person meeting. What was that, like few nights ago?
Yeah.
And that was community growth boundary amendments, land use designation amendments, and any planning area boundary changes. So just to make sure everybody's up to speed, we set aside Lucerne's the question of whether Lucerne should stay in Shoreline or go to Upper Lake Nice. And I did reach out to Austin yesterday to get onto the CERF meeting, which is it's on Veterans Day, as far as I know. So there's enough time to get on that agenda, which is awesome, because hopefully I can join them for that meeting. Oh, good. Hey, Austin. Great. So I was just filling in everybody about the email I sent you yesterday, and hopefully we'll get some input from CERF at its meeting next week on what they think about where they want to be as far as which planning area boundary. And let's see, what else do we talk about? I think that's all we cover. Oh, we did cover land use designation changes at our in-person meeting, focusing mostly about areas that should be put into resource conservation for preservation of like bird estuaries and wetlands, things like that. So now you're up to speed from what we did at the in-person meeting. And we will start with at Holly's request. I know we touched on question 17 regarding preservation of historic and cultural resources, but now we got Robert with us. So we're going to start with that question again. So, but let's do quick introductions first. Mireya Turner, Community Development Director. Go ahead, Betsy.
Oh, golly, this is Betsy Kahn. I'm a member of the General Plan Advisory Committee. I'm a member of the Upper Lake Nice Advisory Committee. And I just came this morning from the Lakeport Area Plan meeting, which was really great. And I'm looking forward to this one. I appreciate all of the public input and participation that's happening with these And these are really excellent meetings. Thanks, Maria.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Angela, go ahead.
Thank you, Maria. Angela Amaral, member of the Shoreline Area Plan Committee, and yeah, sorry, still mush brain from all day yesterday at the polls working. So, but I am gonna have to leave early today just to give you a heads up. So if you see me check out, I'll catch up with everyone later.
Sounds good. We'll take your input for as long as you can stick around. Go ahead, Robert, you're next.
Robert Gary, I'm the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer for Habemetal and also the Khoi Nation. I'm also with Habemetal, the Director of Cultural Resources. I'm a member or tribal citizen of the Limited Colony. And yeah, what?
Good. Thank you. And Robert, also, I just want to let you know, I did see Jacqueline's email about scheduling one of the project meetings, and I will get back to her. I just hadn't had a chance yet. So, but we'll get that set up.
Okay.
Go ahead, Holly.
Oh, hi, Holly Harris. I'm a member of the Shoreline Area Plan, and basically I was on the previous Shoreline Area Plan too, so have a little bit of continuity. And I did just want to mention that when Maria said that we did a lot of work looking at land use designation, it was only in the Clear Lake Oaks area because we didn't feel qualified to do anything in the Lucerne area.
Good. Austin, I'm glad that you're here. So just as a mental note, we'll add, if we can, if I can get onto the SERTH agenda for next week, we'll make sure we handle the land use designation changes also, and any community growth boundary changes that SERTH might be interested in too. Let's make sure we include that. Gail, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Gail Delane, resident of Clear Lake Oaks, Shoreline Community, and thank you all for all the work that you do. Appreciate it.
Maria, you're next.
Hi, I'm Maria Kahn. I am a Shoreline Local Area Planning Committee member and also the East Region Town Hall Municipal Advisory Council member and concerned citizen. So
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Austin, you're closing us out for introductions. Go ahead.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Austin Pratt. I am the vice chair for the Central Region Town Hall. I am a longtime resident of Lucerne, and I wasn't, like Maria said, I wasn't able to make it to the in-person meeting, unfortunately. So looking to catch us up, and also Maria, yes, there are some issues in communication for us at Town Hall SERTH there, but I believe we should be able to get you on some type of a town hall or information meeting. We do have enough time to put it up as an agenda item before the 11th, but originally there actually was a SERTH that was scheduled and rescheduled actually for this last Monday, which had just recently passed, and that was because of the Veterans Day holiday on the 11th. So as I understand it, we did actually have to reschedule and then last minute cancel that last town hall because but we will have the availability in the next week. If you need, we can have an info meeting and host you the agenda item for sure.
Thank you. So your next regularly scheduled meeting then would be December 9th?
The second Monday there. Yeah.
Okay.
Generally speaking, yes, that would be our normally scheduled next SERTH. And thank you for having me.
Yeah. Oh, just as the last thing, let me check with the core team if I can turn in Lucerne's input a little late, like after LAPAC season, and then maybe I could just go on your regular agenda rather than everybody having to have an extra meeting. What do you think about that?
I mean, that would probably be ideal, if anything, because if we are, in fact, to join a separate group outside of the shoreline, then yeah, I anticipate we would need a little extra time to work on our specific items. So yeah, a later date would be ideal, although I do think we could happen if we needed to make it work before the end of next week. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great. Our next team meeting is tomorrow afternoon, so I'll ask then and let you know what if they can accommodate the timelines in our overall schedule.
Great, thank you.
Super, thanks a lot. All right, question 17, everybody. How should the county protect, preserve, and manage historic and cultural resources? So this one, like all the other planning areas, the top multiple choice answer was prioritizing preservation and adaptive reuses for areas and buildings that have identifiable archaeological, cultural, or historic significance.
Excuse me, Maria, do you have that document that you can put up so people can see? I don't know if everybody has that. And if you have the one where we inserted all the comments in red too.
I have that one printed out. Wait, you emailed it to me last week, right?
I think Angela did, or
okay. Let me just run a quick email search and I'll pull it up.
Okay, it might have been Donna.
Hold on. This is my second LAPAC today, so my brain's a little squishy. Okay, go to that one.
I think all our brains are a little squishy today. You did have it pulled up at the last SCAP
I sure
meeting.
did. Yeah, I just had to remember where to go to get it again.
I did send it to you.
Oh, yeah. Darn, that's not it. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind sending it to me, then it's right up there and I can grab it real easy. Thank you.
Holly, do you have it readily available or you want me to do it?
Shoreline Community Survey number 2. Keep going. Come on.
Give me 1 second, Maria. Hold on.
All right. There. Yeah, no problem. Survey's loading. It'll just take me a moment. 15, 16, 17. Excellent. Okay, over you go. And enlarge. Let me know if that's too large. I can shrink it down one. I'll look for my email. Yep, like lemon mo. Yeah, SCAP compiled. Got it.
Oh, you're faster than me. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so what you're seeing, let's see, let's minimize that one for now. Question 17, there it is. Let's enlarge that now and see what that. Now this again was the 4-person group, just like a group report, but also the numbers of how many responses were given are in the blue parentheses. Oh, darn it. Okay. Excuse me. 17, 16. All right, and just as a housekeeping note, that was me swearing in German because I think it's better. But wanted everybody to know that these videos are public record and they get preserved in YouTube for like a gazillion years. So I'm going to try not to swear, and I'll appreciate it if everybody else tries not to swear too. All right, open space conservation. Here we go. So Holly, do you want to talk through the input from the SPAC compiled?
Okay, so there wasn't a whole lot on this one in particular because Robert had not been there and we had hoped to get his input on it. So anything in red, and it looks like I forgot to put the numbers down on these particular, these are basically exactly what's in the survey pulled out, everything in black. Everything in red are the things that we added in. So basically, the only thing that we really added in was changing the designation of structures older than 50 years to 100 years, because most of the mobile homes and the manufactured homes and my home and everything are 50 years old, and they definitely aren't worth looking at for historic preservation. So that was one thing. And then we wanted to make sure to include preservation and restoration of the rock wall along Highway 20. Then I do have down my notes from the last time. I believe that Angela brought up the whole concept about storyboards, which I think we had talked with Robert on Monday night. And I believe that Austin had brought up the concept of native trails and routes along in this part too.
Good. All right,
Also, tribal boundaries.
Sorry, could you say that again, Austin? I was talking.
Yeah, sorry. I was also bringing up that before 17 closed out, that was true of Holly, that I did ask specifically if the phrasing tribal routes and trails could be added so that those were protected. However, as it relates to the storyboards and the markings specifically along Highway 20, what I had mentioned was that the original tribalate boundaries effectively between Lucerne area, contemporary Paradise Valley area, and contemporary Clear Lake Oaks area was at least 2 different boundaries within 3 different tribes, one of which has not made it to federal recognition, I assume due to survivorship of the Camdot tribe. So that means the Narrows area is effectively left kind of, not really, but sort of without a, Mr. Gary could probably speak to this, but effectively that if you drive through the Narrows area, and you feel like it seems like a different type of area of Lake County, it very much is. It used to be a tribal group, which is not here. So that was important to me as well. Somehow signing those boundaries along the highway, and specifically with storyboard maps or markings along the Highway 20 corridor. Thank you.
Thanks, Austin. What else?
I wanted to mention one thing that we had talked about with Robert the other night, but Robert had talked about the land tracts that many of the families owned. And so we had mentioned, possibly having some sort of mile marker or, boundary marker, along Highway 20 showing where the each of the families' boundaries started and ended.
What did you call those, Robert? What were they called?
Lineal land tracts.
Linear land tract. Yeah, but it was like each person had their own something word
from their family. It was a lineal land tract. So basically, one tract went to one.
Yeah.
I think I like the idea. I think Austin, right? Comdot, actually, some of the members that are of Alem and both even Khoi have ancestry from Comdot. So we're still here, but it would be good to acknowledge and making sure that, that village boundary, is acknowledged, I guess. And also, one of the things under 7, I think if you go back to 17 up to the top, of like wanting to know how, I think if there's possibility, because this wasn't in the original document, of making sure that under AB 52 and SB 18, it talks about like how to preserve that and consult with the tribe and collaborate with the tribe on the preservation of those sacred sites. So I think maybe we can state that now, since it is documented, it is law, that maybe in here that, we follow the requirements, of AB 52 and SB 18 for preservation and protection of tribal cultural resources. And it'll go step by step exactly how to do that, how to consult with the tribe, collaborate with the tribe, things that need to be followed.
Great. Thank you. Go ahead, Maria.
Okay, in having that marijuana grow in my valley where they tore up 80 acres, it just killed my neighbor and I. It just gutted us to see that they just disrespected that land. And in conversations with her, she mentioned that, and I'm trying to see if you know of anything about this, that there are cultural resources being stored somewhere down in Santa Rosa, that like bowls and just artifacts that have been found. And I think that it would be phenomenal if we could bring those things back into the county and have them displayed in certain areas. One idea I had was with the Klaus Park, if we have some sort of a visitor center there could be glass showcases where these artifacts are presented and, tribes acknowledged, and, just something where we can display these things that have come from our county. So they're not hidden away down in Santa Rosa. So I'm not sure if that's accurate information. I would like to find out if it is. I would like those things brought back in, and I think we need to honor our tribes for their history and display the works of them, because I think that's really important as part of preserving culture and recognizing it and honoring it and all that. So does anybody know if that's a true thing? Are there things that are tucked away down in Santa Rosa?
It kind of depends on like how the process happened when those things kind of came to light. If they had a CRM firm or an archaeologist actually take those things, they should have either gone to usually it'll go to Sonoma State, will house them. But also now all collections regarding any cultural items, ancestral remains, burial associated items, now all are being repatriated back to those tribes. And so, if it was up in that area, Elam would have probably been called, they'd consult, and then those items are given back to the tribe. If the tribe deems, and you have to think about it in a cultural practice type way, that there's some items that, when one person passes away, all of their items are usually, either buried or kind of put into a place that is not shown. Not all tribes feel the same way or follow that. So it would definitely be, different from tribe to tribe. And then also different from, the different type of items. If it was a burial associated items, things that went with them might be different from maybe, a pestle or mortar or, arrowheads that might be found. So that'd be definitely something, I think, if you know who was there when those items were found, or if they actually had to call the coroner or even an archaeologist to come out and either obtain those or take those or log those, we can find out where they are at.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Anything else that we wanted to add for this type of preservation before we move on? Sounds like we're moving on. Question 18, how should the county protect and manage its open spaces and preserve its natural beauty? The natural beauty, of course, is a top priority or top key issue in every single planning area in the county. This is one thing that everybody agreed is a value. It's a community asset. So what should we do? And, this kind of touches a little bit on the conversation we were having at the in-person meeting regarding adding in conservation of cultural resources here as well that are connected or overlapped or synchronized with the open space and the view sheds.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I kind of feel the same way, that maybe we can have some verbiage in there about, referring back to, those open space preservation requirements from SB 18. Regarding tribal consultation, right?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I hate to sound ignorant on SB 18, but I still am. So I kind of know the SB 18 that I sort of felt I needed to know, but not everything. So does it talk about specific to view sheds and ways to preserve them in those laws?
Yes, it refers to tribal cultural resources, and that view shed is a TCR, right?
Okay.
So.
Good. That's good to know. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maria, we had a lot of input on that. I can either read it all or if you have it to show.
Oh yeah, let me move it up and then you can go over it with us. Thanks. 18. Okay.
So basically, once again, everything in red are things we put in. We inserted wildlife corridors. We wanted to connect open spaces and improve access. And then under the scenic corridors, we had include Highway 20, High Valley Road, Sulphur Bank Drive, North Drive, apply the scenic overlay to include the general parcel, protect both views of the lake and from the lake along the shorelines up to the ridge line, and ensure minimal to moderate development in the geothermal setback footprint, which basically, for those that don't know, pretty much runs in this portion of the lake from the lake up to the ridge lines. Then we just wanted to ensure that oaks, particularly blue oaks and heritage trees, are protected. We wanted to make sure that local plants and wildlife are at nurseries around here. We wanted to enact the paper subdivision management plan, look into trails development, support restoration projects such as the Lucerne Harbor dredging, the Superfund site, Schindler Creek, wetlands between Orchard Shores and the Keys. And of course, we talked about that quite a bit on Monday night with the resource conservation. We wanted to support and enhance Clear Lake by minimizing sediment runoff and restoration of tules in the shoreline, maintain and enhance access to the lake, interpretive trail and location for Terra and NSFD fuel crew to train citizens on various methods of conservation, possibly.
Awesome. Yeah.
And there was one other, I also wanted to mention that Angela De Palma Dow said that right now that they are rewriting the shoreline ordinance. So that's something that we should keep in mind, particularly down here. I believe it's in CDD's hands right now for review before it goes out for public review. So I don't know if there's anything specifically in there that we should be incorporating.
Yeah, it's we were having meetings with them, so we've kind of put them on hold just because of kind of LAPAC season. Everybody's
Right.
routed over to supporting LAPAC season, but yeah, it is in process.
So if anybody has anything else they can think of.
A pretty good list. When you say ensure minimal to moderate development in geothermal setback, what does that mean? Like what kind of development were you thinking?
So I think we had a discussion about that a bit on Monday night, and Robert was talking about the way things were architecturally designed to roll along with the like the hill topography, and basically I think it's having a design guidelines, so that, maybe something like the Coastal Commission does, where you just have certain design guidelines. So you don't have, a huge blaring, purple house that's, 5,000 square feet. I don't know. I think, Robert, if you could talk a little bit more about, from the view shed point of view.
Yeah, let me see. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, no, just as far as architecturally, just trying to make sure that things still kind of are modified to be able to not lose that view shed, right? Whether that's having a building kind of mock, I guess, or something, of making sure that a lot of that natural view shed that will be lost in development, kind of will either be minimized or won't be lost. And so just keeping in mind that when it comes to, developing those, that design, that should be a consideration.
Okay, so what does the group think about this then? Develop and implement design guidelines to minimize aesthetic impacts by development within open space and ridgeline view sheds. Does that capture what we kind of are talking about here? It's actually put in like an implementation format.
That sounds good to me. I think along this vein, I would also say I would discourage, vineyard clear cutting up along the ridge line, and anything like that. Does
anyone oppose adding discourage We want
I
vineyard.
would say architecture that blends with the landscape,
Yeah.
maybe something along that line.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Minimize aesthetic impacts.
Well, I think the other thing too is most of it along here, except for maybe down at the very end by Sulphur Bank. But of course, you've got the Superfund site down there too. Most of it is too steep to do a lot of major development, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think the topography itself kind of, makes it a little prohibitive. All right. What else? Open space, natural beauty. Anything sparked from these that you don't see here yet? Moving on. Number 19. How should the county amplify the area's Indigenous history, support Indigenous traditions, and collaborate with Indigenous communities? This one about maintaining or developing and maintaining collaborative relationships. Okay. Not that I want to scooch past that one, but everything else is on the next page. So
My answer is yes.
yeah. And this is pretty consistent with the conversations that we have been having, as far as tribal assets and resources that have been discussed in a number of different topic areas. Is there anything that you think is missing from here?
I think for myself, it's just emphasizing to make sure that there's communication, I think, with the tribes that are within those areas. I can't remember, she brought up something about clear cutting earlier for a lot of these, cannabis projects or whatever they're doing. And there's a misunderstanding about really what a TCR is. And usually it's like, okay, where these are, where burials are, or, where there's just mortars are, but we're talking about even gathering areas. If there's a big gathering area of like a bunch of oaks that were there, those are a TCR landscape, and so I think there's got to be collaboration of like what those TCRs are in that area that are going to be impacted. And so if anything, there could be a plan that's created in order to either minimize it or reroute certain things or redesign. So, it's really important, I think, to have that in, because like I said, TCRs and archaeological and in historical resources weren't really, well, not historical, but cultural resources were not addressed in the very first plan or the plan prior to this.
Mm-hmm. Is that more of an educational outreach in general, or?
I just think there has to be requirements that are put in for them to do outreach, right? Or to I should say, not to do outreach, but to outreach to the tribes to say, okay, well, hey, there's this, what we're thinking about doing, is this going to impact, or do you have any concerns? And then to be able to kind of discuss about like how the project can go forward with either minimizing or, like I said, redesigning.
Along with that, Robert, is there a way that there are certain things, say a grouping of trees or outcroppings or something like that, that could be highlighted so that it's known about in advance too?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that happens automatically under consultation for every project. I mean, but it has to happen on both sides, right? I mean, the developer and the agency literally have to take the time to sit down and talk with the tribes. The tribes will bring that information to the table. But if that's not being followed, then they're not going to know, and they're just going to go through with it. So it's just important to make sure that there's that collaboration and a requirement to, have them through under SB 18, consult with the tribes if there's any concerns.
I was thinking of it from even an earlier point of view, like maybe there are certain there are certain outcroppings or certain groups of trees or something that you know about already that are very important. And if that's something that could be highlighted, so it may be something that's visible, around, if that could be highlighted up front so that people understand that up front, and that there are certain things that are sacred, and that, they know that up front, even before consultation.
And that's always kind of a sticky situation, I think, coming from a tribal perspective, right? Because, somebody finds out that, hey, there's a sacred area that's here. Then all of a sudden, there's this big old thing that's happening out there. And so, it's one of those things that usually is divulged when, I get where you're talking about. It's like, as long as we know that it's there, we know to protect it, right? But then in the same sense, it kind of takes the safeguard away from it, because then you're going to have people who don't have good intentions out there, doing something in that area that they shouldn't be doing, right? Yeah. And so, I'm kind of split on both, in the middle on both, because it's like I get it, but then in the same sense, what happens when it's in a remote area and somebody can just walk up there and do what they want to do?
Totally.
What about if it was something that didn't necessarily deal with artifacts per se, but maybe it was, I think, Angela, you had mentioned that EJ had talked about a rock outcropping that he saw, and he just said that's a place where we would have looked towards, or I don't know, because it was a third-hand conversation that I got, but just something that where somebody wouldn't be able to take away artifacts, et cetera, but it could highlight that this is something that's important.
Yeah, and mind you, I know, because I'm the rep for down in our area, but I'm not like this one person that can make the answer for that. That have to definitely come, from the tribe as a whole, of saying, do you feel comfortable with like saying that, or could you be vague to it and kind of say, in this area, there are significant areas or significant spaces that are important to the tribe, right? Like, where's there?
Yeah, but then again, where are there not resources that are pretty important to tribes? It's kind of everything, everywhere we look and everything we touch.
Right. And I hate to say it, but that's kind of like Lake County itself, right? And
yeah, totally.
Right. And so, but,
so that's why I think early outreach to the tribes would be really important, because they may not want, like I think view sheds can be identified. That's easy, because you can't go up and destroy a view shed, really. I mean, it takes a lot of work. But a rock outcropping, unfortunately, there are people who might take that as a good reason to go bulldoze that rock outcropping or something.
Right. Yeah, it's
a tough kind of line right there.
Yeah. Well, and I think like what you said, Maria, is really important. I mean, just because we're sitting here kind of going through the, through the development stages of it, you can reach out at any time. Like any, person, private landowner can reach out to the tribe and go, hey, I just had one today. Like somebody over here in Upper Lake says, oh, well, hey, I own 700 acres back here. Is there anything, if I wanted to build, that I should be aware of? Now, whether that tribe kind of divulges that, but at least you would know that, yeah, there are some areas that when you get to that point, these are, some areas to be able to be concerned about, or to try to design whatever you're going to do around it, right? If not, then we'll see each other in the permit process.
Yeah. That is cool that somebody would go and ask before.
Yeah, no, you'd be surprised on how many times we do get. I'm not saying we get it all the time, but I mean, more than we think we don't.
Nice. Go ahead, Maria. Your hand's been up.
Okay. My frustration with some of this, asking the tribes to get involved, I've been involved with a lot of the cannabis project, the grows and stuff, and the one in my valley, the tribes apparently came up and said, there wasn't anything over on that, High Valley Ranch. Well, we know there was, and so I don't know that the tribes themselves are really protecting some of these places, because there's a crap load of stuff that was going on in my valley, and my neighbors that have been here for a long time have found artifacts and seen things, but then the county just allowed this huge operation to just come right through and destroy everything, and the tribes apparently walked the land and said it was okay, but we feel that it wasn't. So I wonder how really engaged the tribes are with some of these projects when they come through the community development department, and they're asked to look at them, because everyone that I've seen, they've said no, there's no impact there, it's not, or they'll say that's not our area, and call somebody else basically. And so it doesn't look like there's a really great cultural investigation done for some of these areas, and it's hard to watch. So I don't know. I take that for what you will, but I just hope that they get more involved, because there are so many areas that need to be protected. And, you know, we're walking all over land that was used by Native Americans. I mean, there's got to be stuff everywhere. So I just would like to see a more thorough investigation, and then respecting what they find, because, you know, just because they say, hey, it's here, doesn't mean that our government will respect the recommendations and go with them. They'll just, okay, thanks for your input, and let's just move on.
That's not how that happens here. Not at least not since I've been around.
Okay, well,
and not in the directors beforehand. We need to know that information. I agree with you that it's a two-way process. Sometimes if the tribe doesn't get back to us, then, you know, we can't really, it kind of doesn't help us much to set in the mitigations that we need to have. But also generally, if we learn that there are sensitive sites or areas, then we put in mitigations to protect those projects, but not necessarily kill an entire project.
Right.
And that's something to keep in mind too, Maria, is that, you know, not every tribe has the capacity to be able to be as responsive, I think, with every project. If I can show you how many projects I answer to, I do go out and do surveys, and mind you, doing this kind of work, we're limited on how much time we get to respond. Like Maria said, if I don't go through it, research it, and get a letter out, and it gets back to the agency within 30 days of a notification, then it's deemed as if I don't have any concerns, and the project goes forward. Right. And so, I mean, you know, I'm not making excuses, but not every tribe, because we're all, you know, really small tribes, have that same capacity to deal with project on a consistent type basis. And also, I mean, it kind of depends on the person that's actually going out there. You know, if they're knowledgeable and they do know that, sometimes, you know, you get some good ones and sometimes you get bad ones. But in the end, honestly, the tribe is the one who really pays for that, because if they're not doing a good survey and those TCRs are destroyed, then we don't get that back. It's done. It's over with. It's gone. Yeah. And so, you know, that's my push to a lot of the tribal historic preservation officers is, hey, get trained up, know exactly what you're out there looking for. Make sure that, you know, you're responding, do everything that you got to do, your due diligence in making sure that's protected. Now, things have been found and nobody's telling anybody, if there's not like an archaeologist or anybody else who's, you know, kind of going to document things and have this thing sent in to whether it's the county or anybody else, then no one knows it exists. Right. Even if you find something, you should, like, you know, kind of go, hey, even if it's me, like, go, hey, Robert, I found something out here. I'd go out there with my Garmin. I'd go out there with my little report, write what was down, who found it, get it documented, try to send it into the CRIS Center, make sure that it's there for when development happens, something pops up. Right. So.
All right. Now I could talk about this stuff all day long. Yeah, but I want to bring us back to the survey. So, Gail, did you have something on how to, what was our question again? Just a second. Amplify areas' Indigenous history, support Indigenous tradition, and collaborate with Indigenous communities?
Yes, I did. I was wondering, thank you. I was wondering what happens if during the course of building something is found, but that was kind of my question was kind of answered in what was just said, that, you know, it depends on whether or not the people who are doing the building choose to stand up and say something's been found. But I just wondered, does that mean that construction is halted until someone can come out and check, or?
Well,
go ahead, Robert.
Okay, yeah. Well, usually what happens is before a project actually, you know, kind of goes forward, they have to go for their permits, and part of that is tribal consultation. So if there's an area that we know that's like sensitive, we'll actually have a monitor out there while they're doing ground disturbance. If anything is found with the developer, there will usually be a reburial area if we can't put it back into that location, and so there'll be a reburial area of all those items. And that way they kind of stay in place. And that place will be documented with the state. So there's kind of like a reburial plan for items that are found during construction when that kind of happens. And so that's usually how it's taken care of.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Maria, real quick, and sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to have to leave here, log off in a second, but I had a quick question on this for Robert. So when a request goes out to you for tribal, does someone always go out to check to see? I mean, I know you can look at a map and see if historically there was people there, and like you said, go out with your garment, but I notice sometimes some of the tribes will just say, we have no input on this. Do they actually go out and look at the site, or are they just looking at a map and
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
no,
so
it's well, the map is just this, all the things that have been found that are registered with the state. So all the archaeological finds that happen, they have to like literally turn in this form to the state of California. And so it's noted like, hey, this was found here, this was found here. So for the scientific part of it, I can look at that and kind of go, okay, well, hey, this is a hot spot because of everything that's been found. But then I also utilize like old recordings and old interviews and just some of that tribal cultural knowledge that I've got along the way to kind of go, okay, well, hey, there's a waterway here. I'm noticing a big grove of like, pine trees or oak trees, right? And there's a lot of things that kind of are indicators to me that I know that, okay, this would definitely be a sensitive area, right? So we're combining both the cultural knowledge and the scientific knowledge. Sometimes we'll go out there to do a site visit to get a better look at certain things, but yeah, we'll do it all.
Okay. And thank you guys. I'm going to have to get off of here. And if you guys do get to the portion about the community growth boundary, I think Holly's going to discuss some things. And I'm just going to say I'm in agreement with her because we talked about it earlier. If you guys get that far. So, all right. Thank you.
Thanks, Angela.
Maria, I know I'm sorry about this. I know you said you want to move on. I just wanted to make this little bit of input. So Robert was saying that if there are instances where someone from the tribe goes out and is kind of an overseer of what's being done as part of the ability to build and to do things here in Lake County. Is it
Somewhat.
part of? Is it
part of
the
discretionary
process?
Is
Is
it's
it part of the?
in
I was just
Lake County,
asking
we've got,
if it was.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just asking. It was part of the permit process that the builder has to put money aside so that this can be done. The tribe gets paid for having to go out and do this, since we're building all over Lake County's, land, indigenous land. I just wondered if it made sense to say that there would be something that builders and developers would have to pay, so that they're paying for the person's time, the tribal person who has to go out and kind of oversee these things. Thank you.
Right. And you're kind of inadvertently touching on a sensitive subject because we have different types of permits in Lake County, like ministerial, which means it doesn't have any conditions other than laws and regulations, or discretionary, which means it's a project that compiles a number of recommendations or conditions of approval that have to be abided by as development goes on. And so, like if you're just building a house, that's a ministerial project, and it doesn't touch anywhere with tribal notification. But so
Best
setting
practice.
aside permit types, then one of the limitations that the county has had in the past is we can't require a permittee to go into a contract with a specific tribe. So we're trying to navigate that right now on what we can and can't. Requires that we make sure that the appropriate conditions and mitigations to protect tribal resources are in there. So to the extent that we have the authority to do so is my government additive. Yeah. But good question, Gail. And don't feel like you can't ask something. Do not let me push you guys. Don't let me rush you. It's more important that we get all the data that we need before we move on. So thank you, Gail. Did I just push us right through a whole thing, or did we? Oh yeah, we did that one. Okay, 19. How should the county amplify the area's indigenous history? Did we just do this? No, it's just related. Right?
We just did that one.
We just did this one.
Yeah, we're on 20
Sorry.
now. Environmental justice.
Squidgy brain, squidgy brain. All right, question 20. How should the county mitigate illegal dumping and other nuisance issues? Yeah, so the results in this survey are a lot like the other ones, where it's a twofold answer. Holding people accountable to the code, making sure they have compliance with the code, and then secondarily, looking for opportunities to come alongside and help like our elderly or low income people to be able to stay in compliance with the code as well.
So once again, we had a whole lot of things that we added in there.
Yes, thanks. Sorry. Let me pull that one up. Environmental justice. Go ahead, Holly, take it away.
Well, most of it's just, you know, the red jumps out at you. We just wanted to add in RVs and appliances, installing cameras at sites of frequent dumping. And some of this may be part of implementation plans or something like that.
It's okay. Right now, we can still do this stuff. It's priorities.
Okay. So, and basically, what I want to say is we agreed with pretty much all of the blacks that were in the survey. I think there were 1 or 2 we crossed out. So these are just in addition to all of that. But we had some thoughts on possibly developing small solid waste transfer stations in communities, which would then haul to the regional landfill. You know, because half the problem's taking the stuff, you know, with a 20-mile round trip and paying for it. Distribute free large item appliance vouchers to residents on an annual or semi-annual basis, and allow people to swap unused vouchers. Free disposal of trash picked up by volunteers. That's a biggie. Chuck and I walk every day and pick up trash, and there's some weeks where we don't have room for our trash in the trash thing. Look back at the local CRV redemption sites or days, which kind of have disappeared here. Mandate community service to clean up the county and homeless encampments. And then just community dump days, recycling, and increased enforcement and fines against a lot of these issues like vandalism, squatting, abandoned dogs, loose dogs.
Mandate community service to clean up the county and homeless. What does that look like?
I thought that a lot of there are people that whether they're doing community service for some sort of fine or students do community service. They're called community service hours. There's a certain amount that they have to do. We had them down here working on Clark's Island.
Oh, so you don't mean county, you should mandate community service, not verbs,
Yes.
just
Yes.
allowing these opportunities for community service.
Yeah. That was the word that was put in, so, but it could be any word.
Okay. What else? Thank you. That's pretty good stuff. Good list. I like the small solid waste transfer station. Nobody's talked about that before. That's pretty cool.
It would be really, really helpful because the reason things get dumped, and we have piles of dumps up here that we have to wait till we get our pickup truck to bring down. But if you just had a county lot, a lot for a county, and just something was down there, and then it would just be, you would pay, you know, the same thing, and then it would be hauled away. And then you would save money on gas driving around.
Yeah. Huh. All right. Good. Anything else? Increased enforcement and fines against abandoned and loose dogs. Interesting.
That's very big in Clear Lake.
It totally is. Yeah. Yeah. Austin, go ahead.
Yeah, I had at least 2 things on this, which I had not seen mentioned elsewhere. One, we could.
Is this still illegal dumping? Or?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Dumping.
Go ahead.
One, we could use signage, I believe, to indicate to citizens where and how to report certain dumping. I mean, for example, there is a newer creek park here in Lucerne, 50 yards from the confluence of which is a homeless encampment under a bridge. And it actually is in the exact same spot and magnitude as it was about 2.5, 3 years ago when I reported it, and it was cleaned within a matter of weeks at that point. And this time around, only because I assumed some of the responsibilities of that particular section of, it's specifically an underpass. It's like, a small bridge, that's a particular government agency. And I had a little bit of trouble playing phone tag to get to the right person to indicate my issues with it. And that might be better suited for, say, if the creek run of, I don't know what it is, 110 yards is in fact a park, but the creek bed where the water runs through is still in fact the state's responsibility or something, that could be signed as an official park sign.
Okay.
On top of that, as well is, sorry, I have to go back to the list to be sure I had the, sorry, I'm spacing out my second thing. I believe the second item had to do with the availability of extra, basically free or cheap trash days for citizens that possibly rent and have back fees on our single solid waste collection service that they may not be able to get past. And so if we have semi-annual dump days where there's free or low cost allowed, dumping, that might be able to clear out a lot more.
Good. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I just now remembered my secondary point before I let it off. If it's all possible, the Parks Department specifically has been expanding their parks and obviously their footprint along the communities here. And one thing I've noticed is as budgets and as the season shifts, we have part-time temporary, workers, and then sometimes they aren't able to make it to that specific park within the next day or two for much besides maybe a trash bag pickup, meaning clearing out a single trash can. What I would really love to see, and this comes out of direct experience again with this creek park here in Lucerne, is that if those employees are charged with at least picking up the trash, that they could also be charged with perhaps like the bags of trash from the cans, that they could also be tasked with like a drive and walk around search and a visual search of that park area to ensure that there would be no, I guess, need for citizens to actually self-report dumping on other citizens. If the parks worker had noticed this place under a bridge, then I wouldn't be in a place where now this is all my responsibility. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 21. Oh, wait, Betsy, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to comment on that last item that Austin was talking about. The Clean Water Program Water Quality Order Compliance steps now includes a trash element of preventing trash going into the lake, and it's an active, ongoing program. Last year, Angela Dow was able to get the roads department maintenance, the culvert maintenance people, to agree that it was their job to clean out those culverts. And so that's the Department of Public Works, not the Parks Department. And it might be helpful if we did join that in together with that Clean Water Program lake pollution prevention requirement. I'm not sure how you would do that, but that exists, and that is part of the whole system that we're trying to get, in place.
Well, also, yeah, I think what I'm hearing going through this also is maybe encouraging more collaborative efforts between the departments, because I know in the last couple of years we became aware of a water resources grant that was able to help us pay for a contractor to pull an RV out of a lake. So yeah,
Right.
just having a better awareness, I think, of what the different departments have funding or capability to do is also helpful.
I
So we
would
can
say
all team up.
especially when it involves the US EPA, National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, state orders that the county has to comply with. Austin was part of that project at one point. And so that needs to be articulated in these plans.
Right. Are we ready for healthy food? Let's go. Healthy food. What can the county do to support access to healthy food? Oh, let's go back to the survey and then we'll come back to this one. So out of the multiple choice, the winner was expand local food access and ag by supporting and encouraging farmers markets, urban farming, community garden, food forests, and other similar activities. But that doesn't mean the ones that didn't get 27 votes are not liked. Some of the other options were support opportunities to establish or expand programs to improve food security and eliminate hunger. That's good. Incentivize establishment of grocery stores. That's good. Others, the write-in stuff is also interesting. Kind of changing up the bus stations and routes. I'm interested to hear what y'all think, if you have anything to add.
We had quite a bit in the other survey.
Just keep reminding me because I keep forgetting. Flip over. Okay, go ahead, Holly.
It's pretty much, these are more like implementation-y type things. But first of all, I remember at one point that there was a study done, it must have been 15 years ago, that if all the seniors that were entitled to food benefits were signed up, it would put another, I can't remember how many millions of dollars back into the economy. So anyway, just ensure that families, seniors, et cetera, that are entitled to benefits are signed up. So this is a social services type thing. The community gardens in unused public spaces, school gardens, basically a good meal at school, work with and expand senior lunches, food programs, etc. Ensure that there are food giveaways that are consistent and accessible. I did notice when they had the environmental justice group that they designated the North Shore, Highway 20 North Shore, as a food desert, which I do take exception to. I think between Nylanders and Clear Lake Oaks, Kenny's in Lucerne, then Century, and the grocery store up in Upper Lake, that we have a lot of good choices for food. It would be nice just to promote that or expand that.
Good. Thank you. That's good stuff.
Mireya?
Yes, ma'am.
What Holly's talking about is that the CalFresh program, which is the state's equivalent of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program from the federal government, discovered that there are roughly 15,000 people in this county that are income eligible for food stamps, of which only 10,000 are actually enrolled. And
wow.
we did some studies, informal anecdotal studies with our senior centers to find out what that was about. It turns out that there is a small but very entrenched population of people who want to have nothing to do with the government. They will not sign up for any government services. And so that's a portion of that. But yes, the result was every dollar that you give a person a dollar, turns into another $7 as it circulates through the economy. So you actually generate a lot more of the economy when you have people using those food stamp electronic benefit transaction equivalents on the little credit card deal.
Yeah.
One of the things that we have is some stores will not honor those, So that's the option of the business owner. But that's a very important thing to keep in mind.
I didn't know that they had the option to not accept them.
Oh, yeah. You not only have to apply, you have to renew your application every 30 days. It is a horrendously bureaucratic, terrible enrollment process.
Wait, to accept them as a store operator, you have to enroll every 30 days?
No, as a recipient.
Yes.
You have to have your income level recertified.
Wow.
I mean, it's just a bureaucratic piece of junk.
Yeah.
But I can tell you the Department of Social Services under Rachel Dillman Parsons, who's now the director of that department, she's the queen of that SNAP CalFresh program, and they do all the outreach. As soon as there's even a power outage, they'll put out a bulletin. If you lost food, we'll replace the cost. We'll replenish your EBT card for however much money. It's really a major communication issue for the population here. It goes along with those senior support services that I'm trying to develop policies for.
Thank you, Betsy. What else? Faster bus transit schedules for grocery shopping. That's very pragmatic. I wish we could do more locally sourced produce, meats, and foods. I would love to see that. Like as we build sort of a more sustainable and self-supporting food industry just locally, that would be awesome. All right, we're going to move on to how should the county ensure access to quality healthcare? Quick time check, 2:07. So we got about 23 more minutes. We're doing good. Doing good. Don't let me rush you. Back to 22. Quality healthcare. Oh, wait. There are survey answers. Yep, we're always wanting to bring medical professionals, expand access to behavioral health facilities, emergency care. I see this connected also instrumentally, like this fourth one, increased access to broadband, because I think telemedicine is like one of our best solutions right now as far as connecting patients with doctors.
I can also tell you that a very commonly requested, very needed is urgent care after hours and on the weekends. We have what they call rapid care provided by both of the hospitals, but they're only open for a couple of hours after normal work days, and they're not open on the weekends. And it's those weekends when working families have kids, and this would reduce the impact on the ERs, the high cost of Medicare reimbursement for emergency level care. And that's just got to be, we have just got to address that. Yeah.
Indeed.
We head down to ensure there's a walk-in clinic in each community or transportation to one. Implement mobile clinics on a timely schedule, expanded pharmaceutical deliveries, ensure that people with power-dependent medical needs are minimally affected by PSPSs. Accessibility, as Betsy said, to 24-hour urgent care clinic. This would also cut down on the amount of things that our limited ambulance services have to go out and take care of.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing, which we had talked to social services about years ago, but if they could set up a social services office that's in each community one day a week on a timely schedule, so that it would allow people to sign up for benefits, get forms, understand what's available to them so that they don't have to travel long distances. It could be in our County and Islander building, senior center, or an office at Big Oak Storage. But I think if social services could come to the people, because there are people that can't drive, once a week or at least once a month, it would be very helpful.
Have you mentioned that to Rachel yet?
No, I mentioned it a long time ago when it was Carol Hutchinson.
It's a good idea. Kind of similar to the mental crisis bus or the library bus. Something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
I will tell you that I am in the process of creating a think tank for those senior support services issues in the general plan. And Crystal Marketan and Rachel Dillman have both been invited to help us create some of those new policies. So
That is awesome. Thank you.
I'll be talking to everybody, all the LAPACs, about this in the near future.
Wonderful. And just so you know, we also, when we get draft documents, we'll be sending them out for review to the different stakeholder agencies as well. So, but what you're talking about is totally awesome. That's a great idea. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. What else? Public facilities and services. How should the county ensure that residents have access to vital communication services? We kind of touched on this at the Lakeport LAPAC today too. That balance of ensuring adequate communication services while still kind of protecting the environment and the impacts of those facilities.
I think this is where one of the things that we had talked about on a Monday evening, but in terms of cooling, evacuation, informational, emergency mobile centers, warming centers, et cetera. And we had suggested the, right along there with the senior center, the abandoned church and building, and the community center there.
Yep. The church. What else?
I would like to comment on that the Lake County Hazard Mitigation Plan and the Emergency Operations Plans are in the process of being updated. Those call for implementing the federal, it's called the National Recovery Framework, and then the state of California, it's not recovery, it's disaster framework. All of that level of stuff needs to be introduced into how we set up what we call community resilience centers. So, there's a large number of influences on designating those community centers as just as Holly was just describing in Clear Lake Oaks for each community, and to have those public facilities established, staffed, funded, regulated, whatever you need to do. It's a big project.
Yeah. Go ahead, Maria.
Do we have a general information phone number that people can call, or emergency type situation? There are times when we've had the power shutoffs or the fires or stuff that the internet is really difficult. Sometimes it's not available or very, very slow. And some of us get cut off completely if we don't, if we're in a certain area. Is there, does the county have a phone number that people can call during emergencies to get information? Where is the fire exactly, and things like that, because the whole zone thing, I have a problem with it because it's just so vague. You got to get access to a map to find out what zone is, under warning and what's getting evacuated. And it's just, it's difficult. Most people are like, well, I live by the Y. Is it by the Y? Is it by this area or that area? So I don't know if the county actually has a phone number that people can call, because there's a lot of elderly people. And I got to admit, I'm getting there myself, dang it. I want to just call somebody and say, do we have information on this? What should I do? Where should I go? Or whatever in an emergency, a countywide emergency. Do we have anything like that? Or maybe we need to have something like that.
We don't, and we have again these separate departmental silos that some of the things that Maria was talking about earlier, because all the emergency evacuation routes and zones and all that kind of stuff is controlled by the sheriff's department. It's not tied in with public services, and so yeah, everything's fragmented. This is one of the worst things I deal with as a radio reporter when we do live coverage of a disaster.
Yeah.
15 or 20 different sources of information that I have to validate and integrate and report constantly. But there are two places that people can call, just so you know. You can call the non-emergency dispatch number at the Sheriff's Department, 263-2690, or you can just go to 211 Lake. I don't know if people understand, we have a 211 service.
You do?
No,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is something we've been working on that for about 5 or 6 years.
Oh, wait, that was after Valley Fire and Sonoma County ran it for us for a while, right? Was that one?
No, it was
or Napa?
It was during the Clayton fire when we didn't have an 800 number for people to call. And so the Sonoma County 211 people provided an 800 number, which is different than just calling 211. 211 is every county in the state has the option of having a 211 service. We now have full continuous funding for that, and we have a contract with an organization to provide that. It's 2-1-1 LAKE, because there's too many 211s. So 211 Lake, and just in a recent meeting, they said that they're prepared. In fact, it was after the Boyles fire. They are prepared to take calls from anybody who needs transportation to evacuate. They'll do all of the outreach to the different agencies to help. So people don't know enough about this 211 thing. I don't know where we could get that in there.
I know, that's awesome.
That's a fantastic thing. Yeah.
It is phenomenal. And there's no outreach. But this goes to the whole question of how the county communicates with the 40% of the population that does not have internet or Wi-Fi or the smartphones. The rest of us, everybody first of all goes to watch duty. We don't wait for the county. We go to watch duty, and watch duty has now multiple layers of information. So there's all this informal stuff, but there's no actual public information office services under the sheriff's public information officer is somebody who just talks about, whether they had a bust and got too many guns or something. We don't have a really high level public information office to help us solve this problem.
There you go. We need to develop that.
Absolutely.
I would clarify that in that it's not outside of an EOC activation when we can bring in the public information section. That's when we can ramp it up with people. And that's when, like in Valley Fire, we had a phone number that had a message in both English and Spanish giving regular updates. But it takes time to get that up and running.
Again, we have 211.
I know, 211 now. That's awesome.
We now have that central clearinghouse that is responsive to individual needs. It's not just, some sort of rote response. So I don't know how we introduce that into public services, but in the general plan, Maria, I'm talking a lot about the community services, including the communication stuff. So
yeah. Well, I think that just this conversation alone has demonstrated a need and a priority to educate the public about what is available.
If I could also just say one last thing on this particular section. One of these things that we took absolute exception to and we absolutely disagree with is C, streamline the permitting process for cell tower installations.
What did you disagree with? That it should be a priority?
Streamlining the permitting process. I mean, it's hard enough as it is right now, and streamlining it, or all of a sudden you've got this huge thing that appears is,
Okay, duly noted. Yeah. All right. That it, or are we going on to vital community resources Wait, lost it. Vital community resources and services. I love the creation of community focal points and gathering places. That was my favorite. I'm glad that was in there. All right, let's see here on the survey. So here it is again, Holly. Encourage and support efforts to improve cellular phone coverage and reliability, especially during extreme weather.
Yeah, that was the thing that we said to cross out. I think it was number C.
Okay. Oh, wait, did we already do this? Okay. Wait, have we already done this one too? Golly, I'm sorry, guys. You're not getting my best brain today. Vital community resources and services. We did communication. So this is our next one, right? We're on 24?
Yes.
Golly.
We did cross out F, which is support efforts to expand airport operations to provide commercial passenger service, because we didn't really feel it pertained to us down here.
Yeah, since that's interesting. Yeah, we don't have an airport in Shoreline.
We don't have any room to put one.
All right. What else? Features. Oh, I like that. All ages included public recreation facilities. That's cool. All right, scrolling down to expansion of childcare, and here's some write-ins. Go ahead, Betsy.
Once again, this is a much larger issue of identifying community resilience capacities and compliance with the federal and state programs in each of the community growth boundary areas, not necessarily in only an area plan area.
Okay.
That's a major general plan issue.
Anything else? Oh, wait. Survey. Community resources.
It's pretty much a lot of the things that we did talk about, but you know, obviously law enforcement staffing is needs to be more adequate.
Yeah, right. I think they will support you in that request. Totally. Let's see. All right, so switching over to economic development, I think is the next subject. Or support. How should the county support local and small businesses? I can hear you typing, Betsy.
Oh, sorry. I'll mute.
All right, encourage shopping. So encourage shop local. Encourage and support home-based business as part of a local circular economy.
I believe I sent you guys the story about how several states have protected local grocery stores, subsidizing local grocery stores, and those, because part of their problem is the purchasing power. When you're buying a small amount of inventory constantly, we could take advantage of purchasing agreements with vendors to help them supply those. There's ways to support those small businesses.
You sent that to us in one of your emails?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look for that.
We definitely felt, and we talked about this before, but limiting or not limiting, prohibiting development of new big box stores in our area.
Okay.
And one of the things is we're very highly supportive of infill and rehabilitation. I think that's a key thing that we want down here. So it would be infill of just properties that are not being utilized rather than expansion, and then rehabilitation of the buildings that are down here so that people can use them.
Cool. Good. Got it. Anything else on small businesses? What the county can do to support small and local businesses?
Yes,
How
just
about,
one,
oh, go ahead, Gail.
I'm sorry, just one more quick thing. I don't know what the process is or how lengthy it is, but I just know that the grocery outlet chain, they feed so many people at such a better price than any of the chain stores. So I don't know, when things come across the desk to have a grocery outlet franchise in one of our Lake County cities or towns, they really do. I mean, it's the pricing really is so dramatically different. So anyway, thank you.
I shop at Gross Out.
Me
It's my
too.
first place to go. Yeah.
Yes,
Whenever I go to Safeway or Bruno's, I'm like, holy cow.
I know.
Yeah.
This also touches on the relationship of the chambers of commerce and business associations, which are not actually actively involved in the general plan update, but they have a tremendous influence over businesses that are, their policies. I'll tell you something that really drives me nuts. You want to start a business here, you go to the trouble of finding a location, you purchase the showcases and the register, the cash register, and all your other equipment, and then the county turns around and taxes you on that. I think that's just absolutely outrageous.
That's like improvements.
Anything you purchase, and this happened to a bait store in Lucerne. The little business wanted to start up. They had a little tiny storefront on Highway 20, and they bought all this stuff. It's refrigeration equipment for worms and all those kinds of things, showcases for your bait, your tackle stuff. You have, and of course, you have the cash register system that captures your sales tax. All these items that are infrastructure for the store itself. The assessor recorder then turned around and dinged them as an asset.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just so nasty.
Anything else? Oh, how about tourism? We haven't talked about tourism. And we are getting close to the end, so hang in there. We're almost done. Oh, actually, only got 2 more minutes. Okay. Tourism economy. What can the county do to support tourism economy? Let's go back. Holly, do you have stuff on this one?
Yeah, we had quite a bit on this. Back
to small local businesses.
This is 26.
I like the town square idea. Yep, on to 26. Reestablish visitor centers. Yeah, that's a good one.
And basically an Airbnb ordinance, a B&B, and I know that's something that you touched on at the very end of this thing, but we really need to limit some of the tourism options, which will help promote some of the resorts, hotels, that are already there, and it will, lessen the problems that we're having in local neighborhoods and ensure TOT funds to the county.
Mm-hmm. It looked for a little while like Bruno wanted to pick that up, but I never heard anything else after that.
It's a big deal.
It is. Yeah, we don't have an Airbnb or short-term rental policy. We have in the zoning permits, we have, or use permits, we have bed and breakfast and bed and breakfast inn, if you have, depending on the number of bedrooms you have.
Yeah, and one of the issues is that we have a lot of out-of-town people who are buying up properties along here on the North Shore, and they're fixing them up a little bit, but then they're turning them into Airbnbs, which is basically taking housing. It's driving up the price of houses and taking, the housing market away from the people that live here.
Yep. I hear you. What else? Support tourism.
We wanted, as I said before, we wanted to support and redevelop what already exists here before new establishments. So it would be, cleaning up some of the, the resorts, et cetera, that we already have. We also wanted to expand on E, which was recognize and promote Lake County's role as a gateway to federal public lands, offering numerous recreational opportunities, such as Mendo Forest, BLM, and the Monument. Expand our parks, emphasis on the shoreline itself as a destination.
Also, I would say that we have to recognize, as we have in other meetings, the importance of the entire outdoor natural resources. Not only do they totally directly affect the lake itself, but the tourism for the lake is not a viable program because the lake quality is so deteriorated. But we have a huge assets in our natural resources, and as Holly was saying, in parks and stuff that we don't really do any marketing for. So that would be helpful.
Good.
I think the other way to support tourism is basically increased code enforcement along Highway 20 for sure. We've got a lot of dilapidated structures, perpetual yard sales, and then focus up cleaning the shoreline and dilapidated docks.
Good. I remember when code enforcement was partially funded by redevelopment funds. That was a priority, was along Highway 20. But it hasn't been, I mean, we now have Copter, which is Nice Lucerne area, with some limited expansion all along the shoreline. But with Sheriff's Office actually already expanded all along the shoreline in that same project. So hopefully that'll work.
It's very bad down here right now.
Okay. Let's see. Here's Airbnb again. Yep, as a write-in. Yep, Gateway. Good. Good. What else? Are we missing anything? All right, it's 2:33. So how many? We have 28 or 29. Oh wait,
Just one more for this section.
Yeah, one. Okay, so we'll pick up next time. I had that next date. Tourism economy, local economy. Okay, and then we get into hazards. So let's finish up just real quick on how can the county support a healthy local economy, and then we will break for this session.
Okay, I guess I would suggest another thing is to really push working out of the home too, and also, some type of program which helps people to actually use the internet to develop, their businesses. We had a business, and if we had a brick and mortar here, we would have died in 2 months, but we lasted for over 20 years, utilizing the internet.
Wow. Good. Okay. Okay, incentives, business incentive, tax breaks. Whoa, I love it. Self-sustaining electricity. That is a lovely idea. Anything else before we break for the session? Supporting local and small businesses. All right, let's talk about what's coming up. Let's see, today is Wednesday. We have Shoreline. We've got another virtual Shoreline on Friday at, looks like 2:30. Let me know if you haven't received a link for that one, because I think Ruby's sending those out. Stop sharing. And that's all I have for you today. Anything else for me?
Maria, exactly what did you want us to talk about on Friday?
Well, on Friday, we're going to finish up the hazard section of the second survey, and then we're going to go right into the area plan. before we talk about the table of all the listed policies, objectives, and implementations that you got, we're going to cover together the executive summary at the beginning for the basis of assumptions. We'll go over that together as a group. And then I haven't actually started going through the policies with any LAPAC yet. So, but what I'm worried about is we're going to start and it's going to be way more than we can handle. So what I vote on doing, what I think we should do is go through in your own time, go through that list, that table, and because there's a column there for you to mark either keep as is, no changes, or throw it out, we don't need it anymore, or change it. I'd like to gather your Word docs when you're done with those. And then as a group, let's focus on changes. That's what I vote. What do y'all think?
That's fine. So are you thinking that we're going to start this list on Friday, or will it be next Wednesday?
Well, this LAPAC really likes to chew and deliberate on stuff. So we've gone pretty slow. I would like to start it on Friday. Okay. But actually on Friday, I would like to finish the second survey and then move over to the executive summary base assumptions with the thought that we'll need to, we may not get through those both in the one meeting, and we'll figure that out afterwards if we need to set up another virtual meeting to go over the table or the list, or if we want to do something else.
Okay, so my question would be, the rest of the survey, is that something that actually affects the area plans, or is that more the general plan?
Let me look. Wildfire, extreme heat, extreme cold, flood.
It seemed like a lot of that was more general plan stuff, so we didn't really look at it. Obviously it's important, but I'd rather put time into the specific area plan stuff.
Holly,
a lot of it, I think, does go to inform our safety element.
One thing to keep in mind is that each area has the ability to create its own mini community wildfire protection plan. And that is where the actions approved in the natural hazard mitigation plan can be applied to a specific local area. So, we know the issues for the North Shore communities that are affecting our community wildfire response and capacities and so forth. But nobody has brought up the opportunity to create your mini CWPPs at the municipal advisory councils. And I think that would be a connection to the local area plan that we should include somehow.
Okay. So are you suggesting maybe we skip that section and then just move over to executive summary at the beginning of next session? I'm fine with that too.
No, finish the hazards. Finish the hazards and put in that option of creating your mini CWPP.
All right, remember that one next week.
Okay.
I want to get that one in the right section of my notes. Super. Go ahead, Maria.
I just wanted to let you know that I'm not going to be able to make Friday's meeting because I'll be working. So
okay. If you could just go through the list, so you have that ready when we hit that point, that would be awesome.
Okay, I'll take a look and do my best to get it to you.
Super duper. Thanks, Maria. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All righty. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. And thank you so much for giving me the last 90 minutes.
Thank you.